Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the IdOMUSIC podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we sat down with Fuzzy, the connector at Capital Music Group, discussing connecting the dots, advocating for indie artists, and taking opportunities across the business. Hey, it's Sammy for the IdOMUSIC podcast, and I'm sitting down with William Fuzzy Fantabulous West, the connector.
Put the government in there.
Yeah, I did. How you feeling?
I'm good.
Happy to see you in Atlanta.
Thanks for the invitation.
No problem. Thank you for taking a moment to sit down. So, 25 years in this business, you've done a lot.
And it's still moving, hopefully.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, you just pretty much, within the last few years, there's a resurgence of Priority Records through Capital Music Group. Yeah. So we'll get into all of that. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about who is the connector? Why do people call you the connector?
What's funny, I start branding myself as the connector after I had stopped working at Beats Music, and I was, putting some fillers out there, and I had a talk with somebody at Warner Brothers, a real good friend of mine, and he was like, I don't know what title to give you if we were to do something. And I'm like, man, he said, you're like an octopus. You always connecting to stuff. I'm like, oh.
The connector.
I'm going to run with the connector. And I just started hashtagging the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Because everybody was like, you should start doing a hashtag.
Yeah.
So I started hashtagging it, and, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the common denominator in each of your roles that you've played over the years have been that you connect the dots between the artist and the company, or vice versa. So you said you were at Beats with Dr.Dre, right?
Yeah, Dr. Dre hired me directly.
How does one get hired, sought out by Dr. Dre to work for him?
I tell everybody it's a relationship and networking. Me and Dre always been cool, during the radio years, and I would call and check on him. Not, when I say check, it'd be like, what's up? What's going down?
Right.
And he invited me to a Laker game. We went to the Laker game, and he was like, I'm working on something, but, you'll be good for it. But he was trying to be very respectful. Me and Big Boy been doing the radio for 20 years at the time. Right. So he was like, well, I got an opportunity, I'm trying something new. He couldn't say what it was. Mm-hmm. He's like, but I think you will be good for it. But he didn't want to say let's do it, because he was being very respectful from Big Boy in my relationship. And I'm like, I'm open for change. Like, it's time for me to do something different. So we chopped it up, and that's when he explained that he was expanding the Beats brand into streaming. Mm-hmm. And they were doing Beats Music. Mm-hmm. So that's how that conversation started.
That's dope. That's dope. Speaking about being open for change, I feel like, just kind of, because unbeknownst to me, I didn't really know a whole lot about all the different things that you have done in 25 years. But it's kind of cool because a lot of times when I talk to people, they stick to that one side of the business.
Yeah.
Whereas you've touched different parts of it.
I think you just got to be open to try different things and just be passionate about what you want to be doing.
What are you passionate about?
I'm passionate about the music. I always have been. I'm passionate about seeing people win. Very passionate about, seeing something grow into something big.
Definitely.
I think there's something exciting about that. I don't like being in front of the spotlight. Like, it was crazy. Doing radio, I was on radio, but I wasn't on TV, or I was, I was behind a mic.
Mm-hmm. It was different.
It was different, but it was like, people know who you were, but you don't, it's not like I'm on stage. And
you got to be seen.
Right, unless we did clubs or something like that, which is different. But I always like being behind the scenes.
Right. So let's go back a little bit. You're from Compton.
Born and raised.
Yeah. Where'd you get your start in music? I know you were...
my uncles.
Your uncles?
Yeah, just like my uncle. I had an Uncle Mikey. So, I was raised in church, so it wasn't like my mom, it was strict. Like, grandma was Kojic. My mom is Pentecostal Apostolic. And, listening to secular music was almost taboo.
Yeah. So
my Uncle Mikey, he was the cool one. He was, playing jazz, playing Bob James, Spiral Gyro, and playing all these, that's how I can get away and listen to that, because it was just jazz. Mm-hmm. But my uncle was always the one that was playing music, Earth, Wind, and Fire, whatever, all that. Mm-hmm. So then I had another uncle, Uncle Robert, and he was in the music business. He was a background singer for a couple of people.
Dope.
So he was, I had that. That was my low key small connection to my music interest.
Can you sing?
Negative. Can't hold a note.
I'm just wondering. Usually you run in the family. It's crazy because I had a similar background. My mom and her sisters or siblings couldn't listen. They sing, but they couldn't listen to secular music. Period. Like they were in a holiness church. Like
it's strict.
I
still don't understand that crap. I'm like, man, it's
which
music.
is why I wilded out because you're just like, just do whatever. So here I am.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a good and a bad.
That part.
I'm just playing. But so you got your start in music, but specifically, at what point was it like, okay, I'm gonna do this?
High school.
And
sure.
Why?
The story was, I lived back east for 1 year in a small town called Meadville, Pennsylvania. I stayed with my grandfather. I decided to, I don't know why, I just wanted to change of pace, whatever. Mm-hmm. So I did my 9th grade year in Meadville, Pennsylvania with my cousin Monty, and he's like my brother, right? So I remember we were passing through a college, Allegheny College, and I kept on hearing this loud music coming from the auditorium, right? And I'm like, let's go over there and see what they're doing. Curiosity. So we walk in, they setting up for a show. I think it was Robert Palmer. Mm-hmm. Robert Palmer doing the show. Robert Palmer, Robert Plant.
Plant.
Probably Robert Plant.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Plant, sorry. So Robert Plant doing the show, and they're doing sound check. They're setting up the lights, all this. I see anvil cases. And I'm going to ask the guy, I said, why is the dude turning the music on and off? He said, that's the sound man. Go out there and ask him. So the sound man walked to the front of the house, and the guy was like, I'm testing out the speakers, make sure everything works, and blah, blah, blah. And I'll never forget, he kept on playing Cameo Strange, loud, turn off, on. Anytime I hear Cameo Strange right now, it takes me back. Mm-hmm. So he took 5-10 minutes out of his time just to explain what the board was, what he was doing with the mics, the speakers, and he didn't have to. So I called my mom, like, Mom, I know what I want to be. She was like, what? I said, I want to be a sound man. So she goes, oh, okay, cool. When you get back to L.A., you can work sound at the church. My mom's heavy in the church.
Yeah, period.
So I'm like, all right, easy. Cool. So I came back that summer, and she put me in the sound booth at the church, not knowing that was like the trigger. So then when I was scouting for high schools I wanted to go to, I had to, I'm in Compton, so my school was supposed to be Dominguez or Compton. Mm-hmm. So I went to Dominguez. They was just talking about, oh, you're a big dude, you should play football. I'm like, nah, I told you I want to be a sound man. They had nothing there to. So then I go to Compton High, and they was like, oh, we have a great ROTC program. I'm like, I don't want to be in the military.
Right.
So then my cousin James Sampson, he went to a school called Long Beach Jordan. I had 2 cousins that actually went there, my cousin Mark and James. So I get to Long Beach, and they were like, oh, yeah, we got an excellent stage crew program. Because I told them what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And they go, you want to see the auditorium? Went to see the auditorium, big-ass auditorium. They had the soundboard. They had state-of-the-art stuff. I'm like, this is what I want to do.
Right.
So,
you found it.
Yeah, so I had to, do what I need to do to go to Long Beach. And I took stage crew seriously. Like, that's the only class I was really excited about going to school for.
Right.
And it, changed my life.
That's dope.
Yep.
So that 5-minute conversation.
Oh yeah, with the dude. Yeah. I wish I knew who that guy was.
Yeah.
I wish, but he was cool.
Was it unheard of, or were a lot of people just? I mean, obviously, most of the schools were pushing you toward military or athletics or anything but sound. So was it unheard of that you wanted that kids were passionate about doing that?
I don't know if it was unheard of. I don't know if it was
unusual, maybe, or was it kind of were there tons of students doing the same thing?
I had nobody in my immediate circle that was in that scene. You know what I'm saying? And it was something I was intrigued by loud sound speakers. Remember at the time, I was growing up in an era where people had big sound systems in their cars and VW Bugs and trucks, Nissan trucks and Suzuki Samurais. Loud sound was intriguing. Mm-hmm. The bigger the better.
Right.
And I remember, actually it was funny, I remember going to, NWA was having a session in a studio in Torrance. It's in the movie where they got pulled over. That was the studio. And I'm coming from a live sound kind of theory, and I knew that recording studios wasn't supposed to have subwoofers in it. So I go meet Dr. Dre. I must have been 15 or 16.
Really?
Yeah. So I told Dre the story before. I was like, he had subwoofers. He had stuff you're supposed to have in a concert. He had big ass subwoofers in the studio in the control room. I said, why you have subwoofers in here? I'm only supposed to have those in, he said, nah, I'm like, I want to hear how the cars sound. That's how I need to hear what the bass sound like.
Right.
I'm like, all right. So that made me interested in like, oh, I should be a recording engineer. Because I always liked the way music sounded and mixed and stuff.
So then you pursued being an engineer?
Yeah,
Somewhat.
for a hot second. I'm talking about hot second. After high school, it was hot.
Why'd you stop?
I think I didn't have the right teacher. I went to the wrong spot. I've always been very crafty and learning hands-on. Like, if somebody would have told me, like, just go work at a recording studio, and I had the opportunity, I was telling you earlier, I had the opportunity, but he just said, all I heard was take out the trash, and you'll be, I'm like, a gopher. He said, gopher and take out the trash. And I'm bigger. I was already doing shows at high school with Miles Davis and Whitney Houston. I was doing stuff already. I'm like.
So you were, simultaneously while you were trying or attempting to go and learn how to be an engineer, you were still doing sound.
Yeah, I was doing live sound. I was doing tours and stuff.
Wow.
I was already, I was popping in that era, but it was so early of a young black, I guess, teenager knowing as much as I knew in that field. Because it was, if you start talking about venues, some of the venues were, union. I was lucky enough to work at in Long Beach. They used to hire the kids from high school, and later on I started working there at the Long Beach Terrace Theater. We did a lot of plays there and stuff, and then behind that is the Long Beach Arena, so I would do a lot of the rock and roll concerts. So imagine me, working, doing load-in and load-outs for like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Motley Crue.
That's dope.
Yeah, I'm probably the only black kid
who could say that.
Yeah, but I had nobody I could relate to, but I was very passionate. I just wanted to get on. I just wanted to be in the scene.
Right.
I always wanted to be on a big tour. It didn't happen, but I really wanted to mix in front of a big-ass arena.
It's never too late.
Nah, I'm past that technology. Them technology on them boards now is crazy.
It's different.
I wish I was still in sound engineering. I seen a dude do it from his iPad. I'm like, nutty.
Really? Yeah.
What?
I mean, literally on one of our last podcasts, they were talking about how you can master on, you can just send it off on a computer.
Yeah, and they give you
crazy.
3 different options right now.
It's crazy. So
technology is bananas.
So early on in your career, obviously, you kind of left engineering behind or didn't really pursue that fully, but
on the recording side.
On the recording side.
Yeah.
Then what? Then what happened after that? Run us through the journey, because I mean, you got into. For those that don't know, you got into promotions, you got into radio.
Yeah, so I'll tell you about how that.
Yeah.
So what's funny is that I always tell people closed mouth don't get fed. So I was always. I was telling my girl the story the other day. I was always trying to get with up and coming hip hop and R&B rappers, or at one point I was working at this place called The Strand doing stuff, and they did a lot of jazz stuff, and I had I was around a lot of great people, but I always wanted to go on tour. Hip hop was cracking. Mm-hmm. So I remember one time I called the radio station Power 106 where I ended up working at. I heard Arrested Development was on the radio show, and I loved Arrested Development music. I was always a big head of not kind of like Native Tongue. I'm a big Tribe Called Quest fan. De La Soul.
Yeah.
So Arrested Development had a twist to it. So I remember calling up to the radio station. I just wanted to holler at Speech. I was like, put Speech on the phone and see if we got a sound man. That was my hustle. I always would go through the paper, see who was in town, whatever. So I remember I ended up winning a contest. I just happened to be on this phone line, and they were like, "Oh, you get a chance to get a limo ride to see Speech. Arrested Development with Arsenio Hall."
Oh wow!
And I'm like, I just wanted to holler at him about this.
Yeah.
So anyway, I tried that route. Didn't work. So then I remember one time I was in Hollywood and I saw this dude named Fat Lip. I did sound for the Far Side. So I saw Fat Lip. They were about to release their album. I used to always see them at a place called The Good Life. And I ended up doing the release party first. So out of this relationship, out of me meeting Fat Lip, I became, sound man for the Far Side. But 2 important relationships came out of that because of the manager. His name was Paul Stewart. Paul Stewart at the time was working for Ice Cube at Lynch Mob Records.
Okay.
And if you know Ice Cube always had his office in the hood. It was off Crenshaw.
Yeah.
So that was a big deal. Paul Stewart, this white dude, cool as hell, and he was managing the Far Side. He had a great relationship with Delicious Vinyl. So on the other other coin of that is the bodyguard for the Far Side at the time is Big Boy.
Right.
So that's how me and Big Boy forged our relationship, and me and Paul forged a relationship because I ended up interning for Paul when he left and started doing his own thing, him and John Singleton. So I worked at IdOMUSIC.
Got you.
So that's me like still doing sound, but now I'm creeping into on the label
business
side. Yeah, business side. And I remember Paul Stewart had a street promotion team he was involved with. So I just wanted to get on. So at this time, I'm 21. I just turned 21. So I'm like, street promotions was cracking in LA. And they were like, I said, I can get in the club free if I take these, 12-inch vinyls. Like, they're like, yeah, you promoting. They have to let you in because the DJ want to see you. I'm like, oh, bet, run that. So I would call record labels, be like, I'm doing street promotion in LA. They're like, what? I remember one person dissed me. What's the name of that group? What's the name of the label? It was Back East. Duck Down. Because Duck Down was cracking. They had like a bunch of people. I want all the hip hop shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, man, you got to do colleges. I'm like, the college scene ain't big out here in LA. Like, it's USC and UCLA, but it's not like when you step outside the West Coast, like colleges, I'm like, nah, there's hip hop clubs out here, Unity, he was like, nah, man, we need a college rep. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Right.
So then Payday Records was around. They had J. Rue the Damager, Group Home. So they hired me to do their street promotions. And I was the only dude in LA with J. Rue the Damager, come clean. Like, that was a hard-ass 12-inch to get because it was produced by Primo. And that's how I got on. Like, I started doing street promotions.
Wow.
I did that for a while, too. That was good money.
I mean, like, so you accepted the internship with Paul Stewart versus that initial internship. What made you say, like, maybe just intern with him?
The record label was just around the business.
What made you want to get into business?
I trusted Paul. I just wanted to get, like I said, I just was thirsty. I just wanted to get on, not thirsty in a bad way, but I
understand.
I just wanted to know about it. I don't know why the record label stuff intrigued me. Like, I was trying to get on. I was like, I just wanted to be on. I wanted to be in the scene. I wanted to learn everything.
Right.
So what Paul had me do was call all the college DJs. It used to be a magazine called Gavin Magazine. It was an industry magazine. And they used to have this yellow pamphlet of all the DJs' names and phone numbers. So I would call them and like, are you playing Mr. Grimm Indo Smoke, blah, 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 blah. Like, that was my thing.
Yeah. And
then it just snowballed into like other things, like other doors opened up for me.
What would you say your biggest lesson was if you could just like think back doing street promotions? Obviously, you were building relationships. You were forging those relationships to what probably helped you in the future. But like, aside from just building those relationships and meeting people, what was your biggest lesson in being a street promoter? Because
you always want to be welcomed. You always want to be, you always want to feel like people are happy to see you, or you couldn't have a bad attitude, and I just wanted to be like, everybody to know who I was. And I mean, at the time I was a big guy, like, you know what I'm saying? So me and Big Boy would be running around in the clubs, and I had a Suburban. Big Boy didn't have a car. Mm-hmm. So we would just be running around doing all the hip-hop scene stuff, all the hip-hop clubs.
That's dope.
But, you just wanted to be, like, liked.
And so after that, you became like the national director of promotions for Payday, eventually the co-national rap director of promotions for Warner Brothers Records.
Yeah. All those record labels I was doing street promotions for at first.
Got you.
And I had a relationship, so the reason I left, the only time I ever left my house in Compton and moved out of my mom's house, because I accepted the job in New York to work for Payday.
Got you.
And I think Paul Moxie's a cool cat, but the reason why Dub C got signed to a East Coast label was because of me. Mm-hmm. And I'm young, so they were like, we need a West Coast artist. This one, it was cracking on the West. Yeah. I mean, Razcast, then you had Ice Cube, NWA, like Dre, like everybody. They wanted a West Coast artist. And I was cool with Dub C. When I say cool, I mean like, you see him in passing, we slap hands, but then I'm like, is he cool?
Yeah.
I know he was in the group Low Profile with Coolio. So I said, Dub, you want to talk to them about they need a West Coast artist? And from that relationship, he got signed. I didn't know anything about me getting a point on the album or finder's fee, nothing. I was just looking out for the homie. I just connected them with them. So Payday knew that. So they was like, let's hire you so you can work Dub C's album. And so I moved back east. But out of that, I met Jay-Z. I met, we distributed Jay-Z's first single in my lifetime through Payday.
So is all the stuff that you learning through business just based off experience? Because like what you were just saying with the points and stuff, did somebody just tell you?
Nah, I didn't find it out till later. Like I could have got a piece of the album. I could have. But Dub C was always cool. Like he threw it back. But
true.
I was young. I was just trying to just always look out for people.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still jump at shit too early on some like connecting people. I'm like, I should have slowed down on that.
So what advice would you give somebody else, like in terms of knowing before you jump into a situation? Like
pace yourself.
Pace yourself.
I still gotta slow down on shit.
Yeah, because I'm sure people are just throwing things at you.
I still have to look at it. This is the business side. Like my girl always tell me like, all right, what are you getting out of it? Like,
right.
How you making this work for you?
Because they're gonna make sure they make it work for them.
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
100%. So sometimes I just need to slow down and be like, okay, let's talk about this.
So why would you say it's important for you to take on each opportunity, be it radio, promotions, artist relations? Because I know you got into like artist relations and management, signing artists. Yeah. Why was it significant for you to take on different opportunities?
I just wanted to try it. Yeah. I just wanted to try it. Like it just snowballed into like one door, opening another door. Like, I don't know. It just sounds crazy, but it just happened. Like, I just wanted to try it.
Yeah.
Like, even when I was doing the morning show, I still wanted to try management. I'm like, I don't know why. Just opportunity, not, really.
So you were on the morning show with Big Boy?
Yeah. Then I would go and work with Snoop and his team at Cashmere Stampede.
And what was that experience like for you? Like,
I just felt like I had the time. Like, I was only in the morning show between 5 o'clock in the morning till 12. And I'm like,
what else do I do? Yeah. So
I just tried it. Just tried it.
You just be trying stuff, huh? Yeah, you just out here.
You can't. My mom told me, always, I've been very fortunate to make money at what I really enjoyed. Only job I never didn't like was bagging groceries, but I wanted to buy a CD player. Right. So she was like, I'm not buying you a $350 CD player. Like, you better get a job. So I'm like, all right. So I worked at the market down the street from my house in Compton. So I can just buy a CD player. Just to be clear, like, that's my only goal, to bag groceries, to save up $400 for whatever the Sony Discman. It was a Sony D10, I will never forget.
Like, I've saved my money.
My thing is, I wanted the top of the line portable CD player.
Yeah.
And that was it. I'm like, that's what I want.
So you quit after that?
Nah, damn, I was there for a couple of months.
Okay.
But once I got the money, I was like, I was making no money. It was like $60 a week or some crap. It was bad. It was terrible.
You had to do what you had to do.
Yeah, definitely say that.
Because your mama said, nah, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it, like, fast forward to now. You guys are revamping Priority Records with Capital Music Group. So the changing the focus to not being necessarily a label, but for distribution.
Independent, yeah. And they changed it since the last time we talked.
Oh.
No, it's all good.
Okay.
Even my roles changed since this last year. So, when they hired me, I left radio again. I had opportunity, No ID called me, a good friend of mine. And he started working at Capitol. Mm-hmm. And they were about to relaunch Priority, but he needed a couple of people that he trusted and could be the face of Priority. So I'm super LA, and he was like, you fit. You know the history behind Priority. Then he hired my dude, Serge Duran, who's A&R. Mm-hmm. He lived out here in Atlanta. And he was doing stuff for Empire. So pretty much me and Serge was kind of like grabbing all the indie acts, a bunch of independent stuff. He started grabbing stuff out here. I started grabbing like AD and G Perico in L.A.
I love G Perico.
Unique dude, right?
I love G Perico. I seen him at South by. When I
saw
that,
I was like... He been out here working too in Atlanta.
Tell him link me. I really, 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 really fuck with his music. Like, he's dope. He's dope. Him and Polyester the same.
You know Polyester?
I told you I'd be doing this.
Wow, you in it then.
Yeah.
Damn, Poly good dude.
I heard about him back, like, coming out of high school, so like 2011, 2012.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Poly and Dom Kennedy, they was all moving around.
Yeah, I've been on the underground scene, the West Coast and the East Coast. So, but no, G Perico, he was doing his thing in South by. So him, AD, it's not about them, it's about you. So I'm refocusing. Saying, we'll talk about that off the record.
We can, but we started doing, we just grabbing up the independent artists.
Right.
like still be indie, but you have the infrastructure of Capitol Records, myself and Surge. And
How does that benefit the independent artist?
they keep they keep their music. They're not tied in. Like if you want to bounce, you can bounce.
So
And I was with that. I was like, cool.
right, yeah, because you're the good guy.
Yeah, and sometimes too much of a good guy. You know what I mean? But I was with it. I was like, that's some independence is where it's at right now.
I mean, would you rather be the bad guy?
Only
You got to be the
if
bad guy sometimes.
Only if it benefits me in the long. No, I'm playing. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that because I think you can even you being in the good guy situation, you still can look like a bad guy to certain people.
That's true. That's true.
If something didn't happen, you're like you didn't do this. I'm like well.
So you've been around in this game for 25 years, so you've seen the changes. Why was it important for you, the label to redirect its focus to being like geared more towards an independent artist first?
Because I think
indie leaning distributor. Excuse me.
You think on the urban side, and I say urban, I mean like R&B and especially on the hip hop side, you had a resurge of like a bunch of artists that was popping without the record label, right? So say like Lil Uzi or somebody that was doing stuff independently, or it's a bunch. It's the cats that's going from 0 to 60 on their own. Then the record label's supposed to go from 60 to 100, right? But a lot of those times they didn't need nothing. Like to me, Drake was an independent artist. Like, but that mixtape was independent. That started him off, right? But it's like you grabbing these artists before, you grab them so super early where they may not have a lot of Instagram followers, they may not have the following, but you know that they're cracking in their own city, or you see something and you feel something. Like I always felt like G Perico was a star. Like I met G Perico through Baron Davis, the basketball player, and I just remember me just being cool with him. And I was in a situation where I was telling my girl, like, I'm in a situation where I can help somebody. I called G Perico and I called Buddy. I wanted to get Buddy. But Buddy had, just left. He was already dealing with leaving the Pharrell camp and doing his own thing. So I was so passionate about doing stuff for the coast.
For the West Coast, yeah.
I went too hard though.
How you go too hard?
Nah, I just I was just trying to snatch up everybody, everybody.
So tell me about how has Compton or just the West Coast in general influenced hip hop in your opinion, and speak to like the West Coast culture? Because I don't really get to talk to a lot of people from the West Coast that often, but I know
I'm biased, so I'm gonna say that
you gonna say what?
Set shit on fire, like start from NWA. I can start there, but
like, what is it about the West Coast? Because like, there's a thing, especially when I talk to people from here in Atlanta, I always ask like, what is it about Atlanta that draws people in and like makes people, love our culture so much? There's like there's a certain thing in Atlanta. What is it about the West Coast?
I think what the West Coast music is okay. So you got the gangbang culture,
right?
And I think that's intriguing to the world or to the rest of the world. Like it's like something that we see every day. And I would talk to my homies. They were like, they come from back east and be like, man, when they say cruising down the street in my 6'4", like they was picturing it. Like my boy Scoop was like, he used to hear about palm trees and stuff. I think West Coast music was a little bit more vivid with the
imagery.
With the image, they told a better story, Like, even I can say the same thing about the East Coast. Like, they used to paint stories. Like, I remember listening to Smith and Wesson and being on a certain train. Like, they would paint stories. But I think West Coast was so, like, you had gangbang culture, you had the lowrider culture, you had dudes just talking crazy about females. Like, you wasn't hearing that on wax. They were gangbanging on wax. Like DJ Quick and them, like they was first to do it, like King T. Like you just saw, like King T had an album cover, it was an Active Food album cover, whatever. But he had an album cover, he walking behind a lowrider, walking in front of the lowrider with his shotgun out. With some house shoes on and some jeans, like
yeah,
that was the epitome of like that's West Coast shit.
It's a different sort of fashion. It's also, I think if I had
you think we talk funny on the West Coast?
Talk funny? No, because like I told you, I got family out there, so it's like it's not funny to me. But y'all do have an accent, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
different
for sure. E40 is like the epitome of.
Now E40 is a different. That's his language is whole.
Language.
Yeah, that's a different kind of. He takes that over
But he got the twang is just like times like 1,000.
Have you ever talked to E40?
Nah.
You should talk to E40.
You bring him on in.
E40.
We ready?
Like I'm saying, like it's not just him lyrically. Like he talk like that in regular, like
in just conversation.
What? Like E40 be like, call me at the coffee table, or hit me on the transmitter. He was saying shit. I'm like, dude, I know what you're saying, but I don't know how you said it. Yeah.
I mean, so if I would say anything, I think it's also about the drive. Y'all spend a lot of time in the car, so it's something like to ride to versus which is the same thing.
When I moved to New York,
here.
I wanted to bring my Suburban. They were like, you can't drive in New York.
Yes.
I'm like, I want to drive.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time in the music, like in our cars, listening to music.
Right. Which
like
I think
even right now, I still
it.
listen. I'm in my 40s. I still listen to shit dumb loud.
Yeah.
But it's a vibe. Like that's why I think I don't want to say Dr. Dre, but like we're so biased because it was so musical. Like Dre was using like real musicians. Like we were bringing shit to life, like bringing a band in and we were creating that. Nobody was doing that.
Tell me how you were able to tie in the two, like being on the radio and also working in promotions, working with artists. How are you able to tie in the two? Obviously, I mean, we could get assumed.
I'll tell you exactly what that.
But what were you doing?
I think so. When I started doing, doing radio, I felt like I knew I had to talk to the artists a little different. I was a little bit more passionate about what we promoted from a radio standpoint, and Big Boy put me in a position where I dealt with the artist management and labels more usual than the average, producer on the show, whatever. I'm the one with the relationships.
Right.
So anytime a guest come in, Big was like, oh, he wouldn't give me his number. He like, oh, get Fuzzy's info. Talk to Fuzzy if you need to get at me. So I'm like, oh, cool. So that put me in a position to always be cool with people. Like yesterday, I saw Missy Elliott, and we chopped it up. Like that's a relationship from radio days.
Right.
But like I always tell people, like, thank God, like Big Boy wasn't a shock jock kind of personality because
What do you mean? What you mean by that?
Meaning like not a dickhead. Like it's certain people that radio shows are known for just going at it. Like especially back in the day, like it's New York radio was more so like that. West Coast radio wasn't. But Big Boy, everybody loved our show. Mm-hmm. So it made it more cooler when I walked up to somebody like Missy or whoever, and they were like, "Oh, Fuzz, you Big Boy," it was welcoming. Like instead of like standoffish, like imagine if I worked with Wendy Williams,
right?
No diss to her, but she was known for saying some crazy shit. Like I'm sure it's hard to like people like I'm cool with you, but I'm not
gonna approach you.
Yeah, man, I'm cool. So to go back to your question was, I think I was a little bit more passionate about when artists came into the morning show. I wanted to make sure they promoted what they needed to promote because I started doing some stuff on the record label side. So I'm always thinking like, we over here jaw jacking, having fun, but I'm like, hey man, you forgot to say your album's out on this day, or your single is this, or your purpose of even coming in. So I was kind of like on that. Like my promotion hat went on. Like, hey, you're here to promote something, just say you need to promote it.
Exactly.
So I think those, you say those two had it kind of like merged, like
they coincide.
Yeah. And also I started helping like book some of the talent for the radio station when we had to do shows and stuff.
True.
Because I had the relationships.
Like concert shows.
Yeah, I remember one time I single-handedly got Jay-Z to do our show.
Wow.
And then he called me like, all right, I'll do your show. I'll never forget. I was driving back from Vegas. I'm like, fuck. We already had the lineup done. I'm like, we got to kick some people off this show because Jay-Z's just confirmed with me. They're like, what? I'm like, yep. And he did it for me. Like 50 Cent did it before for me. Like, because of the relationship.
The relationship.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
So to talk about promotions versus marketing, because I mean, even early on, you were talking about branding yourself and marketing yourself, and it's 2018. That's what everything is about, right? So can you break down the difference in today's climate of music, what promotions is versus marketing?
Now it's like promotion and marketing is almost the same. It's almost a hybrid together, in my opinion, because you have to promote. Like nowadays, promoting and marketing is almost the same thing. Marketing is like you got to make sure you're in front of the right market or in front of the right people. Promotions back in the day was more promoting to retail stores, promoting to DJs, promoting to like radio DJs, and you want that was and that's still today radio promotions, but marketing is making sure you're in front of the right eyeballs and getting the right looks. Now you have, in marketing, you have to make sure you go to the right DSPs, the digital streaming platforms, and you got Tidal, Apple, Spotify,
So many
YouTube.
options.
You have a lot of options now. And so just take what streaming is now is what retail stores used to be back in the day.
Right.
So, like when people complain about only paying $10, I'm like, dude, we used to spend, me and my friend Eric, we spend hundreds of dollars a week on CDs. Like, I don't have no problems paying. I pay for all that right now. Like, between Apple, Spotify, and Tidal, I spend that. Like, I would have spent it anyway buying the music.
True. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so I guess can go in even more detail, like with the artists today. If you're working in promotions or you're working in like radio promotions, even what is your focus for an artist? Because I mean, now you see stuff like with QC and like what they do with Yachty and like any of these artists where they have like brand partnerships.
Yeah, QC is a machine.
Right.
Like, I talked to Coach the other day, but Coach and P, like, they have first of all, they're very unique at picking the talent. Then they know what they need to do of getting it from 0 to 100. Mm-hmm. And I trust that brand. Like, listen, anything that they bring out, I'm like, I'm rolling with. Yeah. And I'm not saying that because I'm working with them because at Capitol, but I've seen what they've done with Yachty. I've seen what they're doing with City Girls. I've seen what they're doing. Look at Migos.
Yeah, I just think it's like much more of a focus on like your visual, on your brand partnerships, and like everything else versus
you gotta understand what that artist is about and cater to that. Like Yachty marketing is way different than Migos marketing. Mm-hmm. Like the brand partnership at Capitol, they knew what to do. They went to Nautica. They started getting that kind of stuff. Like Yachty doing something with Chef Boyardee. Like you got to think out of the box. But it's all marketing. Like you still getting an artist into a whole new set of eyeballs.
True.
Right. So I feel like you got to think. Marketing and promotions kind of go hand in hand because you just want your reach to be massive.
Absolutely.
But make it make sense though. Like you know what I'm saying. Like you wouldn't take nobody like an artist like Kalani or somebody to do I don't know why this is in my head, but like you wouldn't have her do something crazy that doesn't fit her brand.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or you just got to make sense. Like Yachty made sense in Nautica because it was the boat and they had the boat. Like
right.
Smart.
It made sense.
Did Target and all kind of stuff.
So how would you say your previous roles have like prepared you for where you are today? Working with Capitol, working with Capitol Music Group, doing what you're doing to
relationships. It goes back to the relationship networking.
So what type of person do you have to be for you to really maintain relationships? Like who are you? Why do people have and really value their relationship with you?
I don't burn bridges. I tell people you can't burn bridges in this industry because you got to cross that motherfucker once in a while.
That's true.
So why burn it? Like, I'm sure there's somebody that probably don't mess with Fuzzy, but I'm like, for the most part, you don't want to burn bridges. I try not to burn bridges.
Yeah.
And if I do feel like there's some kind of smoke or heat, I try to get ahead of it and like let's talk about it. Like, well, what's up?
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Let's sort it out.
Because I care. I care what people think about me. I care about the person I'm doing business with.
Absolutely.
For sure. You know what I'm saying? So it's all about networking. It's all about your relationship. For me, that's been my goal.
So then when you decided to step on the business side of this industry, what does it mean to do business in music? Because some people don't believe that there is even an aspect of doing business in music, or they don't know it.
I feel like you're going to always need a record label because you're going to need the muscle. You're going to need money, or you need probably not even money. 'Cause I want to say money is the thing, but you're going to need
access. The
access. You're going to need the buildings for certain things. Mm-hmm. When I say building, I mean you're going to need record labels for heavy lifting.
Facts.
Like, as an independent artist, I probably can only do so much that's cracking virally and everything, but I'm like, they're like, but what are you doing outside of the States? What about the global reach? What about Japan? What about England? Like, then you're like, oh, I do need help with that. Mm-hmm. There's a staff for that. Mm-hmm. So, but like I said, I'm a champion for the independent artists, like, because everything is so at their hands right now. Mm-hmm. Like, you can go through an independent distributor and just put up something overnight, like, and it's everywhere.
Right.
back in the day we had to FedEx CDs and stuff to people. You know what I'm saying? Not to sound like an old dude, but I'm like, it's just so easy now.
Yeah.
That's easier, but I think, and the music kind of reflects to that too now. Like, I think the artists now, that they don't probably take advantage of a nice recording studio like this because they got it in their laptop.
Exactly. What would you say the benefits, because that's what I was going to kind of bring me to my next point. Like, what would you say you've seen the industry change. You've seen it go from, to technology to, where we are today, the way the studio is, the type of software that we use, to now you're solely streaming. Nobody buys a CD. What are some of the benefits?
You think that's crazy that people don't buy, like, physicals no more? Because you're, like, younger than me.
Personally, because I like physical, tangible things, and I think that my generation actually really does care about that, because that's why an Urban Outfitters can sell a record for like...
They'll sell vinyl.
Or vinyl for like however much, or cassette tapes for however much, just because people like the nostalgia of having a physical and tangible thing. And I also think it sounds differently. Like, it doesn't sound the same coming from your record player than it does from... I'm not going to sit here and be like, I got so many...
No, I feel you.
You know what I mean? It's convenient to have Apple Music and to be like, okay...
Super convenient.
Or to have, Tidal or whatever, and I can just pull up a thing. But would you say is the benefit of that, and do you see any, like, negative effects to what's happened to the music industry?
The advantage of streaming is it's on demand. It's when you want it. I can... opposed to having a CD case back in the day in your car with only 30 CDs, I'm like, if I had and I always say music, when I say I have a taste for something, I'll be like, damn, I want to hear Slick Rick, or I want to hear Tribe Called Quest, or I want to hear the new Chris Brown album. I can just put it on right now.
Yeah, you ain't got to go looking through.
I got to look for it. But I think the disadvantage to that is that people don't read credits no more.
Right.
So you don't know what producer, what recording studios, and that's kind of lost you lose the feel of knowing, deep diving of what producer did what. But I think that's why everybody tags songs now, like, Metro Boomin or Southside or whoever, DJ Mustard, they tag their name at the beginning of a song now because that's their tag.
I have a lot of conversations about this recently, just about how, like, young people, my generation and so on and so forth, don't really care to be not, educated on that. Would you agree? Like, they don't care who made it.
I can't say y'all. I think y'all do care. I think y'all just how y'all get the information is different than how we did.
True.
You just like you can see on Instagram, you're like, oh, Metro Boomin's working on this. All right, cool, and you good.
Yeah, it's so in and out.
Zaytoven, all right, cool. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But back in the day, it was like a mystique. Like, you didn't see it, but you always knew that person's name.
Yeah.
That's why vinyl is like. People love vinyl because it was big artwork, big credits. And
what would you recommend? I mean, obviously you work for a company and a label that, is it a label? I mean, do I consider it a label?
Yeah,
distribution
company?
No,
yeah. I work Capital Music Group. So
is it considered a label itself?
Priority, yeah.
Okay, sorry, I just didn't know what to call it.
Yeah,
like
distribution, Priority, yeah. But I'm still working for Capital Music.
So, yes, working for this company. But also being an advocate for the independent artist.
Sometimes it gets a little contradicting in the room, in the building.
Right.
I had those arguments before.
What side are you on? Like, I mean, how are you?
I was pro indie. I had to have my independent hat on.
But how do you, like, continue to support them when your job is telling you this, or like what is that conversation?
My role was clear. My role is clear about what I was doing with Priority.
Okay.
But now it's like. You do independent, it's only so much that, when you're independent, like, you still have control. The artists have control. And I was with all that. Mm-hmm. But then sometimes the artists need the heavy lifting. So you got to give on to whatever that contract may be. Like, Nipsey Hussle was smart, and he's still independent, but he went through Atlantic. You know what I'm talking about? Like, you're using their promotion team, you're using their marketing team, and I'm sure the percentage change.
Yeah,
but Nipsey's considered an independent artist. So.
Yeah, it's just such a blurred line, in my opinion. Or sometimes it can be.
I understand what you're saying, because it could be blurred, but I think the record labels still want to be involved with the popping artists.
Exactly, of course.
Or whatever. They still want to be involved with somebody that's pop, urban, or whatever. They still want to be ahead of the game and say, we believe in you and let's go.
What would you recommend? I mean, there are a lot of independent artists that listen to this podcast that follow what Patchwerk is done and is doing,
That's
and what
dope.
the IdOMUSIC brand is doing. So I'm sure they want to know from you, like, what would you recommend to an independent artist who's like popping, they're doing their thing in their own city, but they still just haven't gotten that push, what you were saying earlier.
I would feel like the independent artists need to get to a point realistically. And I think there's time an artist may create something in a backyard, in a house, and they think that shit is popping, but you ain't did nothing with it. You ain't been to the strip clubs, you ain't been to the clubs, you ain't been doing no footwork, like you ain't did nothing. So I think you have to be realistic with you and your team about where you at with your career before you can go to the next level.
Definitely.
Or taking it to another level. Like, you still got to build a relationship with all the independent, digital streaming platforms and playlisting is a big deal. You have to play that game.
Right.
But you have to be doing your work to even give whoever's curating those playlists a reason to even give you a chance to be on the play,
Exactly.
So I feel like you have to be realistic about where you are in your career and keep grinding. Like, you got to network. And I keep saying network. That's the only thing my foundation is built on. But
what does it mean to network for you? Like, what's Fuzzy's guide to networking? Because
talking to people, I still talk to people.
You're just naturally good at it. You
Yeah,
have
it's
a
like
natural gift.
I don't know if it's naturally. I just feel like if you're curious about something, closed mouth don't get fed. Like, talk to that person. Just it's a way to hound somebody, and there's a way to like talk to somebody. You know what I'm talking about? Like, there's a reason. Like I would pay more attention to an artist to come up to me and be like, "Hey man, I'm trying to come up and do this." Woo woo woo. Like, I just need you to listen to this when you get a chance. Or then there's an artist that come up, I'm the next hot woo wap wap woo wap. I'm like, bruh.
Right.
I'm turned off. Like, like, I get the confidence. It's cool. It's cool to have confidence, but I feel like there has to be some humble pie with it too.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm talking
I
about?
guess I asked you,
and I still feel like I'm the teenager when I talk to people. Like,
eager.
I'm never too old. I'm not too old enough to have I have my own mentors.
Definitely.
Still, like, I still talk to people, like, have some real heart-to-heart conversations about something I fell short in or some of my goals. And I don't think you're ever too old or ever big enough in this industry. Say big enough, whatever. But advance in this industry that not have mentors.
Definitely.
The people that you really look up to and you understand their sound advice.
Absolutely. I ask you about networking, like your guide to, because a lot of people are very uncomfortable, or like, I go to a lot of events, I host showcases and stuff in the city, and they'd be just uncomfortable to even come up to me or anybody because it's just an awkward thing for them. Like, and especially that we're always behind our phones. It's just like this natural like social awkwardness. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah, people don't talk to people no more.
Yeah, they don't. There's no
and I don't want to
social
sound like the
interaction.
old fart, but like you don't.
I'm young and I feel the same way.
You have
so
to communicate. You have to get out there and network.
It's
like, think about it, y'all. Patchwerk. Only reason my DM. I checked my DM the other day and I saw something. I knew the logo. I'm like, oh, I know Patchwerk. Then I'm like, of course I'll do that. That's still networking.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I have a DMs full of new artists and stuff, and then I go through it. But I still feel like you have to be. It still has to be a physical something to even see somebody's integrity and see how serious they are. So when you meet somebody eye to eye.
Let me ask you, what is your why? Like your ultimate why for what you do, or why you just like live? Like why you live life? Why you are such an advocate for independent artists? Why you've took chances doing promotions to radio, to promotions to artist relations, and so on and so forth. What's your why?
Only thing that comes to mind right now is I want to see what's next. I want to see. I'm always curious to see what's around the corner. Do I feel like I turned the corner? No, but I want to see what's around the corner. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like like I still feel like I'm building. I still feel like I'm learning. I'm learning a bunch. I learn something new every day. So I feel like I'm still want to see what's around the corner. Like
Definitely.
Like it's been times I do a soul cycle class in LA, and the energy of people, network that's around there is really, really unique, right? And like sometimes I'll just sit down and talk to L.A. Reid about stuff before we start working out. Like just pick his brain. He'll drop a gem and we'll go on about our business.
Would you say that's one of your mentors?
L.A. No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, he's one of the people I just recently started building with probably in the last year.
Gotcha.
But
who would you say are some of your like music mentors?
definitely No ID, Big Boy. It's a mentor. My girl's my mentor. She gives me good advice all the time.
Shout out to the women in your life.
My mom's a mentor. I have a couple of go-to guys though, but like I know I can have a real conversation with No ID. I know I can have a real conversation with Big Boy, and this is besides business stuff. It could just be life, homie shit. Like
I know you and Big Boy are really good friends, pretty much best friends. But like when we talk about mentors, a lot of time people think that, you know, it's like a younger person going to this like person who's been in the game for a long time, and it's like a one-sided relationship, which isn't the case for mentors, at least for me. Like I have a mentor and we're in completely different industries, but
they understand. She understands
and we help each other. You know what I mean? Like it's
and
a mutually beneficial relationship.
That's important to nurture.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a mentor don't have to understand all the physical pieces of what you're doing in the entertainment business, but they may understand the drive and goals.
Exactly.
So like my mom don't. Like, when I started working with Dr.Dre, she didn't know who Dr. Dre was. I like, NWA, she was like...
Okay.
She said, I know the name NWA. I'm like, Mom, I'm working with Dr. Dre. She was like...
The Dr. Dre.
I said, B headphones. She was like... I like, damn. You don't even know Kirk Franklin and Donald Lawrence or something? Oh. It was weird. She was like so disconnected, but she was happy for me.
Right.
She understood what it was, you know, as I started, you know, working with him, but... She had no clue, Jack.
No idea. What's your daily routine? Do you have like a ritual to success?
I try to wake up early enough to go work out.
That's good.
I used to be like fat than a motherfucker. I used to be over 400-something pounds. So
congrats on your journey.
I like trying to move. I like to get up and do something. If I had a routine, it's probably get up in the morning and move. Mm-hmm. When I say move, like work out, do something.
What's your day to day? Like how is a day in the life of Fuzzy?
It varies. I mean, no, they don't vary. Nah, it.
You want to get up and work out.
Wake
so you
up
try
early.
To do something active.
I do wake up early, active.
What's early?
I'm usually out the bed by 5:30 or 6. But I remember I did the morning show forever, so
true. I guess.
I was getting up at 4, up at 4 o'clock. You know, like
I mean, I work in radio. I work in radio too, so I understand. And I used to work in promotions too, so I had to be there before the morning show.
Yeah, you get up early, man.
But I don't do that every day.
Nah, I definitely ain't been getting up early since I've been in Atlanta. Not my fault. But no, I that's my routine. I usually try to get up and work out.
Okay.
I just try to start my day off with a workout.
Why is that important for you? I mean, obviously, like being healthy.
It starts my day off right.
Yeah. Do you feel more disciplined?
When I'm on my schedule, yeah. When I'm on, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely. I feel that, me personally.
What advice would you give for, or no, let me ask you this first. So I asked you, what's your why in life? Like your just overall why, and I asked that for a particular reason. But then tell me why music, like ultimately, you could have done anything else. I mean, you could have really done anything else in the whole world, but you decided to pursue this business. Why?
I just felt like music is always going to be a soundtrack to people's lives. I feel like even though I don't play any instruments or anything, I'm just always intrigued by different people's sound, different people genres of music. I was intrigued by the way things sonically sounded. I was always intrigued by how that was working. How did they get to that? Like, how did you create that? How did that get on radio? How did you shoot a music video? I was always intrigued by that. So behind the scenes, I'm like I said, I'm more like doing this podcast is crazy to me. Like that y'all reached out to me. Like stuff behind the scenes is more intriguing to me.
Yeah.
So that's a why about the music business. I knew like when I was younger, I knew something. I wanted to do something with music. Knew I wasn't going to be a musician, but like I knew it was something I wanted to be connected to.
Yeah, a lot of times I feel like a lot of people don't know that these other jobs and things exist in the industry.
You don't always have to be in front of the microphone, and like I think sometimes people behind the scenes make more. You can be more profitable than the person in front of the spotlight.
Absolutely.
What I mean by that, like people who produce or write, they make more money than sometimes the artists they wrote for.
Being that you worked in radio, I know that you
That fell in my lap.
Yes, but you still worked in radio for quite a long time, back and forth, which means that you know the components to what is a hit. And obviously you work with a label.
A hit song is subjective.
But what is your idea of a hit song?
So if we're talking about the radio side of me,
yes,
the hook, something catchy.
Yeah.
That's what radio stations are looking for, some catchy hook. Because when you do recall, when a listener's doing recall, they're only going to tell you what the hook said. Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to say lyrically what somebody was singing or rapping about. Exactly. But they'll be like,
that hook was fire.
You go to the hook. That's why the hooks are so repetitive and simple.
Like literally one word they're saying over and over again.
Yeah, that shit worked.
It works.
It worked. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Intruder.
It worked. Like, it worked. Like, some of the simple... Like, I remember Eminem saying he used to put out his worst record first, the one he hated first, and it'd be the one that catch fire.
Of course.
Instead of the one that's just rapping or whatever. Just something simple.
Because it don't...
But my thing, you got... Like, even with radio, you have to do something to catch the audience. That may not be... Like, think about what J. Cole... How J. Cole first album is compared to what he is now on KOD. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
He had a song with Jay-Z talking about what was that song?
I couldn't tell you.
But it's totally different. Like, he probably wouldn't do that now.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, but wasn't KOD like supposed to be a take on
That's a unique album.
It was supposed to be a take on what was going on. He was trying to not mimic, but basically mock what.
Yeah, but it has a message. But it has a message.
It worked. It worked.
You feel me?
He successfully did that. I definitely agree. Do you feel like, speaking of success, do you feel like you've reached a point of success in your career?
Nope.
No.
Never get. Nah. I ain't comfortable.
Ain't no stopping.
Nah, I just don't. Why? Like, when you get comfortable, you gonna decide somebody gonna knock you off your square.
Somebody asked me the other day about an end goal. If I had an end goal, and I always, a few people have asked me that, and I'm like,
what's your end game?
I don't have an end goal. You shouldn't have an end goal, right?
You should always have an end game.
An end goal?
Absolutely.
But then after the end goal, what next?
You got to know, what'd you just say?
After the end goal, then what's next?
If you go in my office right now, over my door, I have a sign that says, what's next? You should always, like, think about what you want to do,
but think about the question.
I'm sure. Do you think bigger than this podcast?
Absolutely. Every day we're gonna talk about it. You don't think that's the
end game? That's part of the end game.
There is no end game though. That's what I'm saying. But the end
or goal. Just
end.
Okay, but say that.
That's the end of the book.
Okay, so out of this podcast, after this podcast, what's bigger than what do you think about out of this podcast? Just give me one thing, and this is no diss to the.
Knowledge.
I do music.
Like, what do I think of this podcast?
I'm saying your career. You doing this beautiful podcast.
This is the beginning. This is the beginning for me.
Beginning, right?
Yeah.
So I know that you have goals of what you want to do next.
Right.
Just say one of them.
Bigger platform.
Bigger platform like what?
Since I'm talking to you, Beats One.
All right, so
Radio.
Beats One. All right, so then you get to Beats One, right? What's up?
Looks in the camera, Beats One.
So you. Think about.
Then I get to Beats One, and then it's like.
Then you got another.
My own network.
Then you got another.
Then
you got another.
Yeah, it's always another thing. That's what I'm saying. There can't be an end if this. I can't tell you the end because there is no end goal. I want to just continue to keep elevating.
So do you feel like this is your end game?
Until I'm in top. No.
All right, so you always want to have something. You always want to have something to move forward.
That's my point. I think we were saying the same thing essentially, but when you think about
you're stuck on the end game as you're
being like that's the
final. Nah.
Yeah, no.
No, you can't say that.
What's next? So what's next?
I don't know. I've been rocking with this chick over here that does TV and film. I want to do more stuff like that.
Dope. I didn't know that. It's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I always thought TV and film was boring as hell. There's a lot of moving pieces behind it.
I studied TV production.
Listen, I hated video shoots. I just it's not my world.
Yeah.
But I see what goes on more so behind it in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, that's doable.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed like it was just too much. I like stuff like this. That's why I did plays and live sound, and I'm like morning shows live, like it's live. I love live.
Nah, TV and film's a process.
Too much mind. Too much mind.
What's some last words of advice that you can give? I mean, you pretty much given some gems on this podcast already, but like some last words of advice for someone who may think that before I even do that, why are you the person for the job? Why do people come to Fuzzy to get the job done?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Why do people come to me?
No, you don't need any humble pie for this one.
I just think they know that I can get the job done, and if I don't know how to get the job done, it's going to get done.
You'll find out how.
I'll find out how.
Yeah.
I'll make the connection. Like, think about it. Like, even when I first started working at Capitol, like, my relationships were very heavy with Apple Music because we were doing beats, and I'm like, oh snap! Like, that's one-sided. Like, I have to talk to all the platforms. And one of my first things I wanted to do was make sure I talked to Spotify. Mm-hmm. So I purposely flew back east to spill with Tuma when Tuma was working at Spotify. And, thank God that Tuma recognized Fuzzy from the radio side. And it just made the introduction even a little better. Mm-hmm. And Tuma was probably one of my favorite, like, probably one of my best friends in the industry. Oh. Like, I talked to Tuma just on some...
What up?
Yeah, we don't always talk about business and music.
That's dope.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I was concerned, like, I wanted to make sure I covered Spotify because I know that was a big deal. I know that's a big deal. I know Tidal's a big deal. And, like, even I ran into Jay Brown. We were out one night, and I was like, Jay, I need the relationship with Tidal. And he connected me with the right person and just make it happen.
Right.
So I just feel like, like I always say, network. You got to network.
Absolutely.
You never know where, don't burn bridges. You'll never know when somebody is going, like, it's always moving pieces in this business.
Definitely.
Like, you don't know where I may be next.
Yeah. So what would you tell somebody who's like, I mean, I want to get into I want to become a music executive. I want to be on the business side of things, or to that independent artist that's listening. What advice would you give to either of those?
So two-part, with the artist side, I feel like be very clear on what kind of artist you are and don't change, and don't let anybody tell you this is what you need to be. If you believe that this is what you stand for and this is the kind of music you want to make, then be passionate about it and go hard at it, right? Mm-hmm. Then on the business side, I feel like if you're trying to get in the industry and this is what you want to do, just get in somewhere. And like I said, I work for free, so a lot of times the kids nowadays they don't want to work for free. I just got on. I just wanted to get on. So get in somewhere where you can leapfrog to other places. Like back home, like I said, Stampede and Cashmere was a great hybrid for like cultivating and breeding like new talent. When I say executives, because they dealt with brands, they dealt with management, they dealt with artists, they dealt like, you want to be somewhere where you kind of touching a little bit of everything. Definitely. And that's how I looked at Stage Crew back in the day. Like, I was a sound man, but I was still doing stage manager, lights, rigging. I was doing it all. Like, I wanted to know everything about it. I wanted to know everything from the front door to the back door of a stage. So I feel like with the industry, you should do the same. Like, I don't know PR, but I understand, like, what the components of PR is or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just want to get in somewhere where you can learn. Mm-hmm. And just have somebody, like, find you a mentor in this business. And, like, you network, you never know what somebody may take from a conversation. Like, you never know what kind of conversation that I can call somebody at and be like, I just met Sammy, she cool. She in Atlanta, You don't know what these kind of conversations may end up. And that's why I always tell people, you got to tell people what you want to do. Yeah. Because if I don't know what you want to do, I walk away and not, think about somebody call me about somebody, like, I need somebody to interview me in Atlanta. You don't think your name will pop up first? You got to tell people what you want to do. Absolutely. Because you walk away, be like, oh, that's, my reach is a little this, so I can, I got something for you. Cool.
We're going to connect after this, right?
Easy call.
Easy call. I agree with everything you said.
But closed mouth don't get fed. You got to tell people, what it is. Yeah. Even absolutely. To the engineer, like, you never know. Yeah.
Look, he might be able to teach you something new. That Listen, missing man. Step, that link.
Listen.
So you can go mix some records.
Listen. I wish I had that kind of ear in time again because I would do it as a you never too late.
Never too late.
Never
Never
too
too late. Well, I'm excited to know what's next for Fuzzy. Shout out to Capital Music Group and all that you guys are doing. Tell G Perico to holla at me. Fuzzy the Connector.
I'm gonna FaceTime him after this.
Fuzzy the Connector. Tell them where they can find you on social media.
That's simple. On Instagram is at Fuzzy. On Twitter it's at FuzzFantab. And that's it. Those two right there.
Dope. Well, thank you so much again for sitting down with me.
Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, no problem. And as always, you can find us on social media at IDM Podcast or myself on all social media platforms as Sammy Approved.
Sammy Approved.
Yeah, I approved this message right here. Fuzzy. Thank you. Fuzzy Fantabulous.
Thank you.
Sonically superior.